Data Center Virtual Tour by Scott Murray. First, let me do a little introduction and a disclaimer. Back when I started working in IT in 1987, the only admittance you had to get to a data center was to present a photo ID and sign a register. So there was a guard there, and I think he basically just guarded the notebook. So before I retired, I have worked in and around data centers for probably 25 years. Never my sole charge in a career choice, but that's just how it was. It's been a pretty wild ride at times, and a lot has changed, and a lot has changed very fastly, so quickly. So I've chosen a virtual data center tour today. Any kind of views that are not substantiated are definitely my own, and I'll claim them. So away we go. So you'll find at most data centers that there's a ton of security. The first thing you'll ever notice is that the buildings themselves are very nondescript. There's not a big advertising out front that says, uh, I'm an IBM data center, or this is Bank of America's data center, or this is Amazon Cloud, or AWS data center. They're very nondescript, usually fenced off, almost. I wouldn't say like a prison, but like a very nice prison. So they have guards, and they have entryways with guards. They have entrance controls that are, you have usually a card with, if you work there, you have a card with your name and, an ID strip and your access levels on there. If you don't work there, if you're a visitor, you're only permitted to be there at certain hours of the day, and you have to be escorted. You're only, if you need to be on one floor, you're only given access to one floor. You're not given access to to leave and go up to this floor or that floor. Sometimes you have to have access to the restroom, and so they're very heavily locked down. There's no you can't take your cell phone and take pictures of the screens, and there's lots of compliance and lots of things that you need to know about when you go to a data center or when you work there. Also, I'll have to admit, bandwidth has never been my bailiwick, and I had to dig deep to find out some information on that. This is a very over complex diagram, but it's meant to say, hey, it's a huge discussion point every time there's a new system added to your stack. Anytime there's a new um, or a decrease, or maybe there's a new customer coming on board or something to that. There's always a bandwidth capability discussion, and there's always some new architecture that's coming along and that you hear of. So there's it's one of the main reasons that maybe cloud computing's picking up a little bit or a lot in Steam. It's able to. We'll get to that, but cloud is a scalable structure where you don't have to worry about this as much. You don't have to plan for this as much, and but it's suffice to say it's pretty complicated discussion, and it happens quite a bit. Support personnel. This is something I'm pretty familiar with because this was my job. There's several layers of support, and you have your technical support people who are really the geekies, and who really are doing the installs and making sure that everything goes correctly as installed, making sure that the software is at the proper levels and really are being guardians of the system, making sure that they're doing the right monitoring, and everyone, everything looks fine, and they're doing a 7/24 monitoring job, and or 24/7 rather, however you wish to say that. Then you have their management support who are really decide making the decisions about what systems to go forward with, and what kind of if any expansion needs to happen, or it's overall risk and kind of things of that nature. Should we go forward with this install? Should we not? And do we need to work with the vendor on that? Then you have some engineering kind of guys who are coming around, making sure that the cables are correct, uh, and things of that nature. Most of the first two categories are really full-time employees that work for the organization, and lots of times, because the engineers are not really always needed constantly, they're kind of outsourced as needed for somebody like IBM or HP or somebody like that. So one thing well, on this page, I'll just note that one thing you'll note when you go inside a data center, you'll note that there's a raised floor, and it's very very cool in there. All the machinery has to be kept at a certain temperature, and the airflow is certainly, and the air conditioning is certainly cool. It's a nice place to be in the summer, and not such a fun place to be in the winter. The raised floor is for the cabling, and to run the airflow as the air return and the air conditioning goes under the floor. So um, it's an odd feeling. The first time I think I was on one, I thought, "Wow, this is really odd. I feel like I'm going to fall through the floor." But um, and they have big suction cups that you put on the floor and lift up the panels, and it's a interesting experience, I guess, for a techie like myself. But it's interesting, at least, or it was when I was younger. The upgrade plan, there's always a need to stay abreast of the current software and system software, operating level software, and things like that affect a data center. And usually those are made by compliance. Decisions are forced by kind of compliance people and things of that nature, and systems programmers and actually management level people who are in the data center, whose jobs are solely to make sure that everything's updated, and then we have upgraded, upgrade plans in place, and that the right levels of software are installed and running currently, and the software that runs on those, or the software that interacts with those, is interacting without a problem. This is a big planning thing, and this is another kind of a reason to move to a co-located kind of data center, like a Amazon or a cloud solution. I keep saying Amazon because I'm comfortable with that situation. But yeah, capacity and not capacity, but upgrade. Well, could have to do with capacity, but upgrade plan is a necessity in a data center for sure. And here's what one of the things I find really interesting is I just kind of put this in here, but um, is the air conditioning, the servers and the old time mainframe machines put off a lot of heat, and they need to be cooled, or they'll melt basically. And the read and write heads will just collapse on them, and that's bad when that happens. So your disk drives will collapse, and that's a bad thing. Um, I was always interested in how this air conditioning system works, and it's basically it runs. The heat's captured and hot air rises to the ceiling, and it's captured there, and it goes to some. The cool air goes one way, and it's funneled through some abductors or something. Some terminology. If you talk to a HVAC specialist, they could tell you, and comes back around and goes back in as cool air. This diagram doesn't do it justice, but it's interesting, uh, interesting thought in my mind. there was a, it's relatively new, I guess, and new in my mind is liquid cooling is kind of it started out kind of as a small thing, but now it's almost a necessity. It's just so much more efficient, and with AI and things like that, where you've heard where there's going to be huge data centers with huge chip demand, huge CPU demand, and huge energy usage, and with all that's going to come definitely a chip and a CPU cooling problem. So that's definitely, to me, that's definitely an area to look into as someone who might be moving forward in their career path. I really think that's an interesting. Um, I don't. I mean, it's interesting to me, I suppose. Um, so if we move into cloud computing, I can remember when cloud was just getting taken off, and everybody's going, "Oh, what does this cloud mean? What does this mean?" And it was, those what knew were in the know, and everyone else was like, "What is it?" And then, and the old folks like myself, we would just kind of give up and until we figured it out, or until someone explained it, and so it just, it's kind of gained so much steam that it's really kind of overtaking everything, and so be it. It's a really good idea. So executives have really high executives always say to themselves is, why am I paying so much for these data centers? Why do I pay? And it's an exorbitant amount. I don't even know. I don't even want to venture to guess. But why am I paying all this money and you're not making any money for me? You're a drain on me. You're a cost to me. And why am I paying for all these employees? They're a drain. They're a cost, and you're not making me any money. If you work there, you might feel like, oh, I'm making you tons of money because I'm making, figuring out how these derivatives and formulas and things can help you do business better. But in reality, you're just a drain, and you're just costing this executive more money, more money. And they're always thinking about ways to cut back, whether it be a layoff or we're going to obsolete this piece of software, or we're going to obsolete this group, or combine this or buy this piece. And there's always a game going to try to make better decisions. So it's a good idea, and there's always these questions of, okay, capacity planning. How much capacity do I need? And do I need to buy a server? Do I need to buy 10 servers for something? And I don't really know if I need it all the time. It only runs 6 hours a day, and the other the other hours it's sitting idle. Why do I need to buy all these servers? And why do I have to worry about cable them? And then I have to have another person to support this. And so why not? Why not share your 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 servers, and share your environment and your storage and everything, and your security with everyone else? And why not put your processing in the cloud? I mean, it has challenges here, and as I'm not going to drain all this slide, but it has definite advantages, and it's definitely cost effective for the management, and it's pretty easy to pick up if you're a technical person. If you're a programmer or a systems programmer, it's fairly easy to learn, and so it's a delightful solution. And I in the next, I don't even know. I wouldn't venture to guess, but it, there's going to be almost nothing but cloud computing. There's always going to be some senior level manager. There's always going to be some person in a particular industry going to say, "I want to keep this on premise because I don't trust anybody with it," and they're going to have to keep some level of servers around to satisfy these people. But over time, um, everything's going to move to the cloud because it's so flexible and it's so inexpensive, and they just seem to have a solution for everything, and they can keep up with technology, And I sound like a salesman for cloud computing, but I just think it's a nice technology. So much so that I have jumped on the bandwagon with those extra slide for AWS, which is kind of a neat thing. It's just Amazon's cloud, and Amazon and Google. There's several other people in the business. They seem to be the leaders. They jumped out in front of everyone else. And if you hit this link, if you are able to get to this presentation, it will take you to this documentation. And this is just the first page of the documentation. There's a second page, which is more of a tells you all the services, and you can look them up and go read all their documentation. The documentation is so simple that it's child's play if you have a technical background. Even if you don't, you could learn it. One of the things to note is that anybody could get an Amazon cloud account, and you can start to tinker with these things. Again, if you have a technical background, you can start to build your um, own things in the cloud, if nothing else, to store your photos or something like that. And everyone who has a Prime account could potentially do the whole 9 yards if you wanted. So some of the things that are interesting in these EC2s are actually CPUs that virtual servers that are in the cloud that you know about. Lambdas, you don't have any control. They're very dynamic. They come and go as you need them. Uh, let's see. There's relational databases that you could have. There's a DynamoDB that's more of a blob related kind of database. It's just all kinds of things, and I may be talking out of my head, but anyway, the cloud is definitely, the documentation is clear and concise, and they've worked hard on it, and it's very easy to understand. Um, and lastly, just a few miscellaneous things. So I mean, you no doubt heard that. Well, in the news and daily, you get a thing in the mail that your data's been breached, and um, data security just continues to be a big problem, and the bad guys are just everywhere. I wanted to mention a little bit of the cybersecurity that goes on that you might not know so much about inside of an organization. When there's several systems that try to protect you and your credentials from being stolen and from malcontent, so to speak. If someone gains access somehow to your credentials, and they enter your ID and your password, and they're able to get to log onto your account or get to the first part of your account, or they seemingly do, um, then they're going to be challenged with a um, two-factor authentication token, which you all have these nowadays generally. And if that doesn't go to the right device, then you probably be shut down there. There's also several risk systems that you have to go through. Depending on if you're in a foreign country. So there's a lot of countries that the U.S. have embargoes against it that you're automatically going to get shut down. And just about every foreign country that you're in, if you're making a call, I mean, if you're trying to log on to a U.S. based account, you get shut down most of the time. And then there's systems that protect you against DDoS attacks that are trying to bring down systems that they're online systems, and bot attacks that are trying to bring down annoyances and slow your transactions down, uh, so they can eventually cripple the systems and run and chase you away. So there's a lot of things that go on that maybe don't meet the eye, and honestly, the 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 bad guys and it's just getting worse. I mean, it's just I don't know what the answer is, but I think in the next, you know, every the next so many years is just going to be one thing after the next till they come up with a solution for that. Observability is going to be a big deal. Observability means the ability to track everything that goes on in your environment. Like if something's going down, if you have problems on one side of your cloud structure, you have problems on your on-prem systems. It becomes so complex that there's not enough tools to be able to do it. There's just not a one-stop shop, and you have your support people looking at 12 different tools, and there's only so many people, and there's only so many ways to interpret things, and some of the quality of the code unfortunately has dropped a little bit over the years, and it's just been engineered to go fast and not be so concerned about the quality. Hopefully that reels in, and they're able to find one stop shops, but that's definitely a concern. AI is huge. I mean, AI is just going to be huge. It's just going to burn up power supplies, and um, I mean, batteries are going to be a big deal, and um, if you know where you can find some lithium, buy some. Oh, I don't know. It's a big deal already, right? I mean, I think all of us have played around with it, and it's just incredible. And sometimes the things I've asked it, and I can just feel like the smoke's coming off my PC. But it's going to pose lots of problems, and even environmental problems with, how do you protect the environment from all its heat or all of its deluge. So there's got to be some sustainability, with the energy, um, and have a smart solution. So I hope that was at least was enjoyable. I don't know that I've had a very good. Um, I don't know, since I've worked in data centers, I don't know that I've breezed over or covered enough topics to make it clear or to make it understandable, but I tried. I wanted to go through some of the resources, and some of them I think were interesting that I found. This, of course, it's the class materials that for our class that I used. These are some of the stats that just help me with with some of the network and capacity stats, because it's just not my thing. Here's the Google Cloud documentation. That's also worth a look. And these are more statistical things that were interesting. This is roles and responsibilities of a data center technician. If any young people are out there in college that are looking for a job, or people, it's a delightful job, and will keep food on your table for as long as you have a table. Let's see. 11 things to consider when you're doing the data center upgrade. Also, very nice read, very easy read. Key factors before upgrading, also interesting. Hybrid data centers. This describes what the difference between, or why people have some on-prem and some that'll go to the cloud. So that's interesting. And then there's the data center anatomy, cooling systems, which is just something I like to to read about. So that concludes my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.